Hello, all my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched, and Chair Shots. I'm your host, a chef by trade and mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and joining me tonight is a streamer extraordinaire. He is a veteran of the business. He's a pro wrestling referee. He is Clark Feldman. Clark, thanks for coming on and chatting about some wrestling, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. Just got home from work. I saw that Twitter is kind of a
Melting
mess right
down.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm happy to be here.
We were joking right before I hit record. I was like, it's 2023, man. There's got to be 1,001 ways where I can reach out to this guy that doesn't involve, a little blue bird. Uh,
Right. I'm like, okay, email, Discord, Instagram.
we will figure it out. So this is, like we were saying, super easy interview, man. I always kind of start them the same way. What kind of wrestling exposure did you have as a kid and a young fan? Like, what kind of got you the driving force behind you to make you a wrestling fan?
Sure. So growing up, like my time to bond with my dad was like usually late, whenever like Monday Night Raw or WCW would come on, he'd let me stay up a little late and watch that with him. So I think like one of my first like wrestling, like one of the big like wrestling memories I had was Tatanka versus IRS, like that feud. And then usually on the weekends too, like he would let me like go to the video store, which I'm really dating myself here, and uh let me rent like a couple tapes from the wrestling section. I'm also pretty sure he brought me to a couple house shows. It probably would have been like maybe one WWF show and like a couple WCW shows.
That was one of my favorite things growing up. My dad did the same thing. Like, I'm from Nashville, and Nashville's a hotbed for even. And I'm with
Sure.
you. That '80s and '90s push. By the time the Attitude Era came around, I was already in high school. Ruthless Aggression, most of it, I was in college. So I
Yep.
think we're around the same age. So I appreciate that. I jokingly call myself an old head a lot because I kind of chew my teeth on a lot of NWA wrestling. So
Sure.
let's jump ahead a little bit and kind of get into how you broke into the business as a referee. What was that process like for you? Because I've heard it told from the perspective of a wrestler, one of the boys in the locker room, one of the gals in the locker room, 50 or 60 times now. But specifically for you, what was it like breaking into the business as a ref?
So it kind of started out the same way. I had saw an advertisement that just up the road a wrestling school is opening up, and I looked at the list and it was like Sean Davari, Aria Davari, Ken Anderson, Eric Cannon, and Molly Holly. So I'm like, okay, these are very reputable people. I'm not going to be trained by, I don't know, like butt crack Bob in some like barely cobbled together ring in someone's backyard. Like this is going to be legitimate training. And I saw that they were doing a special. It was like first class would get like a full year of tuition for $1,000. So I'm like, okay. It's like growing up, I had like dabbled with the idea of like, okay, maybe I'll move out to the Wrestle Factory or um one of the other training schools. But I'm like, that's a lot to like just pack up my life and go for something that, might not necessarily work out. Whereas this is just down the road for me and not not too much of a drop in the bucket, all things considered. So I got to about like the 6 month mark, and from like learning all the basics of wrestling, like like the bumping, like standard lockup, arm wringer, that kind of stuff, and I realized like it was really hard on my body. Like so, I've got a lot of respect for anyone that can like go over the top rope, do pretty much anything that requires like body coordination. So yeah, like I was having like hip issues, my heels got bruised, like it was just like it was a lot of stuff. And so finally like I had to sit down with my coaches one night and I'm just like, look guys, like pretty clear the wrestling stuff isn't like the wrestling isn't gonna work out for me, but I still want to be involved in this business. Like what else can I do? At this time, like the rest of the students were just about to the point where we could start having practice matches. So light bulb went off with them. They're like, "Well, uh, we need a ref. Try being a ref." And they taught me like a couple of the basics, like how to work camera, how to like get used to moving around in the ring, so I'm not in anyone's way. And it started to kind of snowball from there.
I'll use that. That's a perfect segue. Looking at it from a match perspective, a lot of guys talk about the differences, like the different pieces of the puzzle, the different parts of the story, the men or women in the actual match, the ref, the crowd, managers or valets, depending on the story. What's it like for you day to day work wise with like the way you ref a match? Like, what's the process look like for you going into a card, going into a match?
So like my ref philosophy comes from Todd Sinclair, like one of the he was pretty much the dude at Ring of Honor, and maybe it's neither here nor there, but I think like they should give him another run. But like he said at the end of the day, he wants to his goal as a referee is to help the people in the ring tell their story. So besides like going through like okay, like any is there anything I need to know? Like I try to approach it like trying trying to think out loud here, like how much of the curtain to pull back here, but like um say there's like a say like overall in the card, like there's gonna be like a couple heels winning. If all of them are low blowing and I'm roughing the winning by low blows and I'm roughing those matches, I have like a quick meeting. I'm like, all right, let's change things up because like low blow number two, the crowd's not going to react. They're going to just think I'm an idiot. So there's things like that to consider. Uh, Finding out where hard cam is, if there's going to be any roaming cams, if there's going to be like a couple photographers, like those are things I try to factor in. And just a lot of like behind the scenes stuff could be as simple as making sure the wrestlers know, like, hey, this is a path to get to your entrance.
When you look at it from your perspective, when you're going into your bookings and stuff, what's the process like getting booked as a ref? Do you work with a lot of the same promotions over and over again? Is there some secret like black book list of you guys that all the promoters are using? Like, what's the booking process like for y'all?
Uh, Pretty similar as any other industry. Like I started out by just offering to drive some of the wrestlers getting booked. I just looked at like, hey, these people are working at places I would like to go, so I'd offer their drive, or offer gas money, whatever I need to do to get in the car with them, and then I'd pay my dues. Like I'd be there early to help set up the ring. Um, I I was kind of brought up like old school too, so like I wouldn't even like bring my bag in unless I was booked. Like I would pay for a ticket, and then at the end of the night, like help with tear down, make sure like the promoter and anyone else that was a regular there knew who I was, and then pretty soon like a couple places would start using me. Um, some of those wrestlers, managers, uh, you know, some of some of the people that help out at those promotions would vouch for me. That's also something like for like new wrestlers or anyone like getting into the business. Like my word of advice is just like, hey, be cool to everyone. Like whether it's the promoters, the sound person, the camera people, because sometimes they have a lot more of an in than you'll realize.
One of the big things I've noticed about it, I've been covering indie wrestling for about 2 years now, and being really focused on indie wrestling and the relationships you build inside those promotions. And sometimes you see as small as, everybody talks about the horror shows where there's 10, 15, 20 people in the crowd, all the way up to the 1,200 person shows. We've seen both ends of that spectrum, highs and lows. But one of the most interesting things about indie wrestling to me is always the crowds. Can you speak a little bit about the differences of the crowds you've seen from territory to territory?
Sure. Like, um, I feel like for like some of the shows where like I've done a couple where there's like 5 or 10 people in the crowd, and those are usually rough nights for a referee because um I feel like those are the ones where like if someone starts to heckle, that's like it's quiet enough that like you just hear them like like, hey, that was three, idiot,
You hear
and it just like
everything.
echoes throughout that building. Yeah. um Whereas like um refing at a show like First Wrestling's Mall of America show is just like when people came up and cheered, it was just like a wave of sound.
One thing I'm interested about for you, you had some of your training, you've worked through it. When you're working the indie scene as a ref, when you have to take your bumps, are you glad you have that backing and that training now? Every time you have to take one.
100%. Like being able to do so. I didn't know it was a thing too. Like there's definitely refs out there that like don't bump. So if wrestlers know like, hey, this guy can bump and he can do it well, like they're more likely to request you for the match.
Yeah, the I guess like work rate, just like some of like I've said, the guys and the gals in the locker room, like you're successful, the guys understand you can work, they understand your part, so it makes sense. Like experience sells.
Hmm.
Have you had one of those moments though when you're in the ring, even with experience being a veteran? Have you ever had one of those moments where you were like, "Oh shit, I can't sell. I gotta no sell it. I gotta keep focus, head down, eyes on the match." Like, have you ever had a moment where you almost lost it? You almost popped for the boys without meaning to?
So many times like I I like doing comedy matches as long as like there's even within comedy as long as there's logic to them. So like when they just kind of give me like a real like rough outline of how things are going to go, like sometimes I will find myself just like, oh, like have to find like hard cam quick and like turn away. But I've also had like a few experiences where things have like gone south in the ring, and those were like, oh shit, like I really got to think on my feet fast. Um, could be anything from like I go down for my count, it's like 2.999, but the sound guy is just going off of the crowd, so he starts like ringing the bell and playing the music. Yeah, quickly like, no, 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 that's not it.
Have you ever found yourself between two guys in the ring that took the business a little too personal, and they started to bring a little bit of real world emotion into it and take it beyond just a wrestling match?
I don't think so. Like I've definitely seen receipts, but not like a full on like, oh no, this is like veering into a shoot.
Oh, okay. Um, so looking at the overall view of some of the refs right now, I feel like as a referee, you probably get asked this one a lot. What are some of your thoughts on some of the refs right now that are kind of in the spotlight of the IWC? Kind of your Aubrey Edwards, your Rick Knox, some of these guys.
Um, because like I consider like Bryce Remsburg like one of my referee dads. He's really helped me a lot in my career. I've gotten to work with Rick for a shout out in LA. I think I've met like Aubrey once on Mania weekend. Um so I'm trying to think of it's like I know that they do get some flack from the IWC for like being part of the show or whatever, but if you look at like Rick's work at like PWG, like it was pretty par for the course. Like it made sense for those matches. And I think maybe people are just like conditioned for like that attitude or like the ruthless aggression era where like the ref was just like window dressing. They were basically like a mobile walkie-talkie. If you go back to the days like Tommy Young and a lot of those refs, like they like or even like Hebner, they would do like things that would like add their flourish. So I think it's just like a balancing act of like picking your spots, but also making sure like, hey, the spotlight is on the other people in the ring.
So is it one of those things you think where it's like, uh, I'll use Aubrey as an example. She's on a bigger stage. Her guys have bigger production value. They're a little bit brighter, a little bit louder. So she steps it up. Say like a normal indie ref. You know what I mean? Somebody in the white and the black zebra stripes. They've got their ref uniform on. When they get to that little bit brighter of a stage, do you think it's just Aubrey maybe turning it up to 11, the same the boys do when they get to that level?
Mm, I'm not sure because it's also like she's obviously like very like damn good at her job, but like to a point where like multiple folks like Jericho have made sure to mention like, hey, like we request her for her for for like anything we do. Like she's able to get in there, get things done. Like so I'm just like also like, if she wants to add a little flourish on it, like, go for it.
For sure. Let's take a look back at some of what you've done, though. You've had a chance to work somewhere like WrestlePalooza, kind of a huge event. There was a lot going on. What was the event like?
This most recent WrestlePalooza or
When
um
I was looking at some of the stuff you've done, yeah, let's just go with the most recent one.
okay, sure, fair enough. WrestlePalooza is like a semi-annual thing at First Wrestling. It's held at First Avenue, and those are some of the shows I love the most because it's a mixture of wrestling. There's usually a band, and then there's usually like burlesque or drag artists. So you get a mix of your like super casual, like I just want to drink beer and like cheer for stuff fans to like like your hardcore like wrestling fans that are like, oh yeah, like this match was great because of like all the technicality, all the work rate. Just like being in an environment like that is amazing. I've had the chance to work with GCW numerous times, and um, it's one thing to see like Nick Gage's entrance like while you're watching the pay per view versus being in the crowd for that versus being in the ring for that. It's like you can feel like the ring like vibrate as he's like fighting, pretty much fighting his way through the crowd.
And when you get into somewhere like a GCW and you have a chance to work with those guys, is the intensity level stepped up a lot? They have they've got the notorious history for the hardcore and the deathmatch scene and some of the stuff they do live. Do they carry that intensity from the first bell to the last bell?
I would say so. Like folks like Matt Justice, Nick Gage, like when they're getting like ready for their match, like there's almost like an aura of intensity. Like, okay, yeah, they're getting into that mindset, but like also there's some of like the first people to greet everyone as they come back through those curtains. Like, by the way, can I swear on this? Like, I wasn't sure if this was like
Oh, you
PG,
absolutely
PG
can. Yeah,
13.
this is we've got the E for
Okay,
a reason. You can pretty much say whatever the hell you want, really.
okay, fair enough. Because then, okay, I could do my Nick Gage impression then. Because someone will come back and be like, "Fuck yeah, you fucking killed it out there. Love this fucking shit. Fucking show's awesome. Fuck yeah." And that's like, I think like having folks like that around like gets everyone else like amped up. And
What
then having a really hot crowd too is it's a recipe for a lot of fun.
One of my favorite things about Nick Gage ever was I was at Starcast in Nashville, SummerSlam weekend of Ric Flair's last match, and
Sure.
I was in the bathroom finishing up, and Nick came into the bathroom, and somebody said what's up to him, and that's exactly what he sounded like. He was like, "Fuck yeah, man, I'm great, man. Fuck yeah, just killing it." And I was just like, "Yeah, that sounds like the same experience that I had with Nick, real similar."
I I also love like yes, like Nick is totally like a badass, like, but he's a very wholesome dude. Like very, very like if you get to be good friends with him, very much like, pull you in for a hug and be like, hey, how you fucking doing? How's your family? Like it's 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 always wild to see like that side of Nick, and then when he's like going out, like, where's my fucking gang at MDK? Like just like completely amped up.
All right. Well, Clark, man, I've appreciated this. It's been a hell of a conversation. Like I said, it's always an easy 20 minutes. But here
Yeah,
comes
I
the
was like,
fun
this
part.
breezed.
Yeah. I've got five random questions. I always do it the same way. None of them have anything to do with wrestling this go around. I've got your five queued up. You ready?
All right, let's go.
What's your favorite food?
Japanese curry.
Ooh, that's a great one. I haven't had that one yet.
Yeah, like half of my bookings, like whenever like I'm traveling, I try and line up like, all right, well, what's a really good Japanese restaurant?
What's the favorite venue you've had a chance to referee a match in? I guess that one has to
Um,
do with wrestling, so maybe a little bit.
sure. I gotta say the Mall of America because it was like first was the first company to do that since WCW,
Plus, it's a
and
cool ass venue.
yeah, and plus like I don't want to like turn this into a long story, but we ended up with a lot of fruit snacks as a result. Uh, the Mall of America somehow got like an entire like shipping pallet full of fruit snacks, and so like all of us walked out of that show with like a full box.
That's amazing. I love fruit snacks. I'm in my late 30s and
Right?
I still eat them.
Same. I'm like,
What's your favorite season of the year?
I kind of like spring. 'Cause, like I'm up here in Minnesota, so like our summers, like we do get some nice days, but there's some days where it's just like humid and miserable, and like our winters, like today it's like a balmy 40 degrees out. Like the couple days before that, we were in the negatives. So like that's spring's like a nice balance.
I'm not made for that back and forth, super hyper cold. Nashville's kind of temperate. We get down into the 30s, maybe the 20s some, but it doesn't get much colder than that. What's your go
Sure.
to pizza topping?
Go to pizza topping, chicken and bacon.
Those are always good picks. Last one. Do you believe in aliens?
Absolutely.
That was an easy yes, huh?
Yeah, like I've definitely seen some pretty weird and unexplainable things, and I'm like, all right, that could either be like the government testing out some sort of new tech, or it could be aliens.
All right, Clark, it's my favorite part, man. I don't have to say anything. I just tell you to plug your stuff. Tell everybody where you're streaming, what you got going on. If you've got any cool events coming up, plug your stuff. Put yourself over.
All right, sweet. Uh, so like you can find me on just about all of my socials: Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. It's just Referee Clark. I went out to TwitchCon the past year, and like I was using the handle like Ref Clark Feldman. Once I got out of the wrestling world and into the streamer world, like most common question I got asked was like, "What the hell's a ref? Are you referencing something?" I was like, "No, no, no, I'm a referee." So coming back from that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna change up the brand a little bit, make it a little easier to for folks to spell out. Um, for my upcoming events, next week I will be at the Level Up convention out in Las Vegas. So that's like a fun, like all of my interests all blended into one because it's a gaming and like anime type expo, and I get to go out there and referee too. So bonus.
I mean, it's always like awesome when you get to mix business and pleasure, right?
Absolutely. My Twitch schedule, I'm usually on there Tuesdays and Thursdays. The rest are just like pop up streams. I usually post on Twitter like, "Hey, I'm going to be live tonight."
Cool. Well, Clark, man, I appreciate it. Like I said, this was awesome. It always makes the job easy when I look down and realize we've already hit over the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the one time where I don't have to be watching time. Like, hey, we got to wrap it up. We got to wrap it up.
Well, look, man, I appreciate you stopping by and chatting about some wrestling with me.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. For the Clark Feldman, I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.